welcome. I'm Pooja Shali and this is a special telecast on currently the unprecedented attacks that have unfolded from Israel. The counter-strike, the retaliation, the retribution that Israel claims when it says we are at war. Our colleagues are on the ground, Gaurav Sawant and Ashutosh Mishra, and they'll be joining us very soon from Tel Aviv as well. First, the defining images, all that has unfolded in the past 2 days. Today's day 3 between the Israel-Hamas war. Let's begin. In this heartbreaking video, a father was seen saving his entire family who escaped through a window as the Hamas extremists broke into their house, but unfortunately, that shot down before he could escape. A 25-year-old Israeli woman who was attending a trance music festival near Gaza Strip to celebrate the end of the Jewish holiday, Sukkot, was kidnapped by Hamas extremists. The woman is seen being carted away forcibly on a motorcycle of a Hamas militant while she pleads for her life to be let go. Israeli airstrikes continued to pound Gaza early this morning. Airstrikes targeting the shore in central Gaza, causing a large explosion with multiple secondary explosions, suggesting a weapons depot that was also struck. Multiple explosions were seen in Gaza as Israeli airstrikes killed nearly 300 Palestinians also in the 24 hours. Airstrikes began soon after Saturday's attack by Hamas and continued overnight into the next day, destroying the extremist group's offices, training camps. There were also other buildings that were targeted. Hamas continued to launch fresh rocket attacks against Israel, targeting Tel Aviv and surrounding areas. Ben Gurion International Airport also is under rocket attack. However, Israel's Iron Dome interceptors have been actively thwarting these rockets. So we've all seen the visuals that are coming in from Israel right now. They are horrific to say the least. Children have been targeted. Young women have been killed. They've been taken captive by the Hamas extremists. And also at this point, we are being told elderly women have also been taken away. Over 100 hostages right now, while over 700 have been killed, including civilians and soldiers. We are getting you, Expert Voices, our panel that's also joining us. Lauren Isaac is joining me from Jerusalem, an Israeli journalist. Lauren, first word to you. What is the situation 3 days on? There is a counter-strike that we see here, rockets from both sides. But what is the present status, specifically amid people in Israel, of this unprecedented attack that has taken place on their people?
Thank you for having me. Yes, and you're right to use the word unprecedented, as this has never happened before in Israeli history, nor have we ever seen something like this, to be honest, in any war that we've known. What's going on right now is a slaughter more than a war. People are calling it a war, but to be honest, when Hamas terrorists target children and families and older people and babies, it cannot be classified as a war. We have had over 700 people declared dead, with that death toll expected to rise. And the fact is, the IDF has recently released that approximately 57 IDF personnel, that is military personnel, have been killed. That means 10% only. 90% of the people killed have been civilians. These are war crimes. These are crimes against humanity. This is in contravention to every international law. This can hardly be classified as a war. It is more a massacre on Israeli civilians. Right now, the mood is very somber because of this.
I completely understand. One can only imagine, and specifically for those who are missing, those who have been confirmed to have been kidnapped. Lauren, please stay on with me because I want to go across to Lebanon as well. And joining me from Beirut is journalist Edmund Bauer for the latest on that. Because Edmund, this is not just about Israel-Palestine or Hamas anymore. This appears to be the world also getting polarized. There are speculations rife if Lebanon or the Hezbollah could possibly be helping the Hamas extremists as well. What is happening in Lebanon? What do you hear around you is currently taking place?
Well, there's speculations, as there always are. The history of Lebanon is inextricably linked to Israel and Palestine to the south. Yesterday, there was an exchange of rocket fire on the border between Israeli Defense Forces and Hezbollah. And yeah, clearly there's some concern in the rest of the country that war could spill over. People remember the war of 2006. They remember the civil war of the 1980s. But the analysts that I've spoken to, sources both in Lebanon and both in Israel, suggest that war is unlikely to escalate. Hezbollah have a long-standing partnership with Hamas and have given their support to the campaign in Israel. But it's unlikely that they're going to follow suit with an invasion of their own or a raid of their own. What we saw yesterday, more likely than not, was a token gesture by Hezbollah, which was responded to with a token gesture by the Israeli Defense Forces. There have been no major casualties so far. There is no indication that things are going to progress, but people remain tense. There's always a chance, and of course, nobody foresaw the
Israel caution statements have been sent out, Edmund? Anything like that from Lebanon right now?
I think people are waiting and watching more than anything. There is no indication right now that things are going to escalate. That could change.
That could change, and of course the world is watching right now. Edmund, please stay on with me, because Laura and I want to come back to you. At this point, of course, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that there is retribution that will take place and we will defend our citizens and our civilians here at this point. But many are also asking for a military like that of Israel, for the defense forces they've had. It's perhaps best in the world, and specifically even their surveillance systems. How did possibly the Hamas extremists get past that? Was it because there was the holiday season? Was it something else? Are questions also being raised on that? Because what unfolded was not just one location, but it literally spread to different southern parts of Israel and was complete massacre and mayhem.
Yes, that is the question that everybody is asking, and that everybody is frustrated with the fact that we do not have an answer to that question right now. But we're looking at, way down the road, before we have an investigation and before we understand the complexities of the logistics and if there were mistakes made or if we were just caught by surprise. That's way down the road. Right now, we are still in phase 1 of this war, which is to say the IDF is still trying to get control on the ground in the south of Israel. We are still trying to get control back from the terrorists who are still running loose in Israel. There are at least 6 battle sites where they are still fighting on Israeli soil with Hamas terrorists. Stage 2, of course, will be involving trying to free the hostages and get all the people who were kidnapped back from Gaza. Stage 3, they're talking about the assault against Gaza, a full-on offensive strike in order to dismantle Gaza's ability to function, Hamas's ability to govern at all. Of course, stage 3 might be spilling over into stage 1, as we saw 500 airstrikes last night into Gaza. But the question of how this all happened will not be answered for weeks, probably months. It is going to be a long road.
All right, clearly, and I think what you've made is a very pertinent point. It's not just about what happened on Saturday, but now the real test to get the hostages back alive. We are being told there are women, children, elderly in that, and that is going to be very crucial too. I'll go across now to Beirut. Lauren, please stay on with me, because Edmund, right now the Western world appears to have given out statements that they are standing in support and solidarity for Israel, whether it's United States of America, UK, where the 10 Downing Street have been lit in Israel's flag colors, and other countries as well in the Western world, while it seems more toward the Arab world. Even though Saudi Arabia and Israel are normalizing relationship, their statements have gone against Israel. They appear to be standing in support with Palestine. What exactly do you think is currently Lebanon's position? Has there been an official statement that's come in? This is apart from what the skirmishes with Hezbollah has been, with the rocket fire that also exchanged that we have heard about. What do you think Lebanon specifically, officially, has said for now? How do you see the Arab world around reacting on this issue? Do you think this is going to get more global in nature?
I don't know if we can say it can get more global in nature, but certainly it's no surprise that Arab governments and Arab people have come out in intensive support of the Palestinians. There's been a long-running support amongst Arab countries for Palestinians, even here in Lebanon, where you mentioned what the official response was here. Lebanon is in a different situation because of the ongoing economic crisis, the ongoing political crisis, and political divisions within here, but there's definitely a big strand of support for Palestinians here, particularly amongst the Palestinians who live here, some of whom have grown up their whole lives in exile, living in Lebanon. I'm not far from the refugee camps of Sabra and Shatila, which became famous during the massacres in 1982 under Israeli occupation. And I was there a couple of days ago, where people were waving flags and handing out sweets, and there was almost a celebratory mood. So the official response from governments, I think, is going to be difficult. They've got a fine line to tread. Many people are certainly in support of the Palestinians and remember that this is an occupation with a long history.
Edmund, a quick word before I can then let you go. Is there a Jewish population in Lebanon? Have they been told to be cautious? Is there a number of that stature in Lebanon of the Jewish population or not?
The Jewish population in Lebanon, I'm not sure. It's actually polling is not easy when it comes to religion. It's actually illegal in Lebanon, so we're not entirely sure.
All right, Edmund, thank you so much for now. I'd request you to please stay on with me if possible. I want to get in a quick word from Lauren as well before I go across to our reporters on the ground as well. Lauren, when you hear of these reactions that are coming in, one from the Western world, there is another from the Arab world as well. How do you see this panning out at a time when Israel is clearly mourning for its people who've been so brutally targeted?
Well, the way I see it and the way most people see it here is that it's very, very clear. It's black and white. There is good and there is evil. There is right and there is wrong. There are only two sides of this war. One is Israel, who is protecting a liberal democratic government who cares about human lives, human dignity, protecting their civilian populations, and treating people with some sort of respect for life. And then there's the other side, which is pure evil, which has been slaughtering civilians, taking people out of their homes, ripping children out of their parents' arms, killing elderly people and parents in front of their children, brutalizing dead bodies, doing the most heinous, unspeakable acts that you could think of. There are no two sides. There are no options of who we stand with. You are either good or you are either evil on this side of the war. Israel is fighting evil.
Right, so clearly that's a stand that many Israelis would say at this point. I want to thank Edmund Bauer for joining us for the latest on this. Edmund, because in Beirut I understand that there is going to be another dimension that do take place. In fact, I do have a question. Edmund, with this Hezbollah angle that is coming in and many questions are being raised, if they are going to actively support, whether it's with Iran, with Egypt, with Qatar as well, that position, do you think, is not yet clear? That initially there were rocket fire that was sent out, but that was about it. It hasn't seen an escalation from Lebanon, from Hezbollah thereon.
No escalation yet. I think if there's a ground assault on Gaza, that could change, and it could change before. It could change for any number of reasons.
Yes.
But at the moment, people are expecting things to stay the same. Exchange of fire on the border between Lebanese and Israeli forces is not unknown. It's there's disputed territory that people have been fighting over for 30 odd years. So I wouldn't read too much into it. Obviously, people are worried, as you would be if you lived here. But the real fighting is going on in Israel for now.
All right, Edmund, thank you so much. I appreciate you speaking to India Today Television and giving your perspective from Beirut. The visuals are speaking for itself, what are coming from Israel. What has happened right now is Turkey has given out a statement in favor of Palestine. So has Saudi Arabia, Qatar and Iran. On the other side, there is the Western world that has largely come out in support and solidarity for Israel. Even Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi had said that we are against the terrorist attacks that has been inflicted on Israel, and we stand in solidarity with Israel. Very clear word and very unequivocal, specifically when it comes to terror attacks on civilians. Lauren, as I come back to you, do tell us how the past 3 days have been to the people in Israel. What do you see around you? Is there shock? Is there numbness? Is there anger? And this is, of course, apart from how the government, the Netanyahu government, is planning to then strike against Palestine.
Yes, well, first of all, I want to thank, and on behalf of Israel, we want to thank all our allies around the world, and that includes India. You guys have had your fair share of terrorist attacks as well, and you know what it means to suffer at the hands of terrorism. So we thank you for being so supportive of what's going on here with Israeli citizens and civilians. The mood is very somber. The mood is eerie. It is quiet. It is sad. It is shocked. Everyone is confused. Everyone is stunned. We've never seen anything like this. It's unprecedented. They're saying on the day of Simchat Torah, the last day of Sukkot holiday, that more Jews were killed in one day than have been killed since the Holocaust. So the numbers themselves are shocking people into silence. We don't know. Everybody is looking for their loved ones. Everyone is wondering what will happen, when this will end. But really, right now, we have to focus on coming together, being unified. There's a lot of love and unity in Israel. Everyone is supporting each other, and we're supporting our soldiers and our police, most importantly. And they're the ones risking their lives right now to protect everyone. And we're just hoping. There's a lot of prayer. There's a lot of love. We're hoping that this ends soon with a decisive end to the terrorists and a success for Israel.
And we'll be running some of these visuals on the hostages that were being taken. It's just mind-numbing, to say the least. And this is, there has to be condemnation against terrorism, period. There cannot be two ways about it. And we'll be running those visuals too. And I saw these young women soaked in blood being taken away by the extremists. Children, young women, I'm being told that babies have also been either taken hostage or separated from their mothers, and it's absolutely unimaginable what the families must be going through. But has there been a headway that has been made yet, according to your sources, about trying to get the hostages back? Is there any sort of an interaction that has been organized already? Is there an in charge that has been placed to ensure these people are brought back?
Well, the good news is that there's been fighting all night. Israel struck over 500 sites in Gaza during the nighttime with the Air Force. There are still 6 active fighting sites in the south, they're telling us, which is better because on the first day there were 22 active fighting sites. So it's a good thing that there are now only 6. The hostage situation is still bad. There are still entire communities that are being held by Hamas terrorists down south. And of course, we have an unknown number of Israeli civilians, that is men, women, children, babies, who have been kidnapped into Gaza over the border. And we haven't even begun to get those people back and to save those people yet. So it's going to be a long road, and it is still a very, very difficult time here in Israel.
How do you see the next few days panning out? Because it does appear that the situation is going to escalate. Are other cities of Israel also gearing up, Lauren, to prepare for any sort of war, so to say, as already the Prime Minister of Israel has said they are going to go ahead and ensure that the country is at war. But our other cities also have been told to prepare, because I hear that men are being called back as to army reserves, that people who have either served or even young men are being asked to join as much as possible. Former Prime Minister of Israel himself has gone ahead and joined the Israeli army in any way possible of can be used.
Yes, thank God. We've got all our soldiers are working, all our reserve soldiers are working. Anyone who has served in the past is being called up to serve again. Even soldiers who are outside of the country of Israel right now are being called to return and to come back. I know a few of them, my personal friends, who were on flights yesterday and today, who came back, and they are now going down to start serving in the army. Also, people, they are allowing voluntary draft to the police force and to the army to a certain extent. So people are volunteering to become armed and help in the fight. But right now, everyone is doing what they can. There is a national blood drive going on in almost every large city in Israel for people to donate blood for the wounded, for the victims. There's also a campaign to give food and supplies to soldiers. We're collecting food, canned goods, medical supplies, blankets, anything that the soldiers can use, and we're sending it to the front for the soldiers. So the whole country is coming together in any way they can to try and help. And right now, we just thank our IDF and our forces for protecting our lives.
Lauren Isaac, Israeli journalist from Jerusalem, joining me. Stay safe, and I appreciate you speaking to us, giving us your perspective and what's been happening on ground. Edmund Bauer also joined us from Beirut in Lebanon, because there are, of course, different layers coming. It's not just about Israel and Palestine anymore. If you're tuning in just now and wondering what exactly has unfolded in the past few hours, I'll break it down for you. From the Hamas extremist group, 700 civilians, soldiers were killed, and not just Israelis, but also we are getting reports of other ethnicities and nationalities who've been targeted by the Hamas extremists as well. But what is more concerning is right now there are over 100 people who've been taken hostage, who've been abducted. Israel has responded with a wave of airstrikes on targets inside Gaza. Soldiers are battling Hamas extremists in the streets of southern Israeli towns. Over 400 Palestinians and terror hideouts have also been targeted. Over 2,000 have been injured as well. So there is this cross gunfire, rocket fire, missile fire that has been taking place between the Gaza Strip and Israel. Israeli forces, the IDF, clashing with the gunmen and the forces from the Palestinian group Hamas. Now, remember, for now, this is an unprecedented attack that Israel has never seen, that world has never seen before. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has declared Israel is at war.
לא נראה בישראל, ואני אדאג שזה לא יקרה יותר. הממשלה כולה מתייצבת מאחורי ההחלטה הזאת. צה"ל יפעיל מיד את כל עוצמתו כדי להשמיד את יכולות חמאס. נכה בהם עד חורמה, וננקום בעוצמה על היום השחור הזה שהם עוללו למדינת ישראל ולאזרחיה. כל המקומות שהחמאס מסתתר בהם, פועל מתוכם. נהפוך אותם לאיי חורבות. אני אומר לתושבי עזה, צאו משם עכשיו, כי אנחנו נפעל בכל מקום ובכל העוצמה.
The past days have been devastating for each and every Israeli. What we are witnessing are war crimes, blatant barbaric war crimes, slaughtering civilians, abusing hostages, taking babies from their mothers. There are no words to describe such savagery. Hamas's war crimes must be unequivocally condemned. This unimaginable atrocity must be condemned.
Our Air Force is attacking hundreds of Hamas Islamic Jihad targets in Gaza. We follow international law while exercising our right and responsibility to protect our civilians. The days ahead will be long and difficult. We have paid a heavy price, but we will restore security to the people of Israel.
אנחנו נגבה מחיר כבד מאוד מהחמאס, הוא ישלם על מה שהוא עשה, ואת הפעולה הזאת יזכרו בעזה ל-50 השנים הבאות, ויצטערו על זה שהם החלו בזה.
Remember that it's not yet over, because there is a huge hostage crisis that's looming large after that unprecedented attack on Israel. Israeli government has revealed over 100 people, which means elderly women, young women, men, and also children have been held hostage after the Palestinian extremist group Hamas launched its biggest attack on Israel. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has appointed former military commander Gal Hirsch as the coordinator for hostage and missing persons. But terrifying images come. For example, of an Israeli hostage